Well, here's a little story for a Sunday afternoon. New Orleans, 1995, of cigarettes and jazz. In the summer of 1995, I was working on a project in LA, and at the last minute, I decided to fly back to Atlanta for the 4th of July. The 4th was on a Tuesday, so I decided to fly on Saturday to get a long weekend. It was a one-stop with a short layover in Kansas City. I was still smoking in those days, and so as soon as we landed in Kansas City, I ran for the exit right outside our gate to catch a quick smoke. As I did, another passenger with the same idea ran into me. He apologized, and we struck up a conversation. He asked if Atlanta was my final destination. I said yes, I was working in LA, but I wanted to get home for the holiday. I detected a mild British accent and asked him where he was from, and he said he grew up in London but lived in LA. I asked him what took him to LA, and he said he was a studio jazz musician. I told him I used to live in Nashville and knew a lot of studio musicians, and my ex-brother-in-law did a lot of jazz recording work. Then I asked if he was going to Atlanta, and he said no, he was headed for New Orleans but could not get a direct flight. Asking why he was headed to New Orleans, he answered that he was going down for the weekend to a party celebrating Pete Fountain's 65th birthday on the 3rd. I said New Orleans was my favorite city in the country, and I'd been to Pete Fountain's Jazz Club in the Hilton Riverside several times, and that going to his birthday party was pretty cool. He asked if I had anything that I had to do for the holiday, and I said I was probably just going to drive up to Tennessee and meet my girlfriend and celebrate there. He responded, well, if you would like to join me as my guest, you'd be welcome. I said I didn't want to crash the party, and he insisted that Pete and his wife would not mind if they were really great hosts. I said I probably should go home. We got back on the plane, and I kept thinking, when will I ever get a chance like this? As I deplaned, I got off first and waited for him to get off to go to his connecting flight. I stopped him and said that I really appreciated his offer and that if it was all right with him and I could get a ticket on his flight, I'd like to go. He smiled and we headed for the desk. I was in luck and scored a ticket. I went to the phone and I called and told my girlfriend I wasn't coming home. When we arrived in New Orleans, we were picked up by a limo and headed out to Pete's home in the Lake Vista Homes neighborhood, a suburb of New Orleans. It was a relatively larger, older home with a guest house in the back. We were met at the door by Mr. New Orleans himself and his long-suffering bride of over 40 years, Beverly. Pete was, without a doubt, the king of Dixieland Jazz Clarinet. His hair was white and cut short, and he sported a mustache and a neatly trimmed goatee. My British companion was right. I was welcome like a member of the family. He introduced me, and Beverly gave me a hug and told me I was welcome to stay if I didn't mind sharing a room in the guest house. Pete was incredibly witty and funny, one story after another. He had recently decided to get a tattoo, which he insisted on showing everyone to the chagrin of his wife. He was a real trip. Musicians from all over the country showed up. Jam sessions continued into the night, and the guests streamed through the house for 2 solid days. The mayor even showed up on Monday, Pete's birthday, with a huge cake. I had a fantastic time, but it had to end, and I caught a flight directly back to LA on the 4th. What a magical experience, all because I smoked and had an uncontrollable compulsion to talk to the people around me. Thanks.